All right, today we're talking about arithmetic sequences. We talked about sequences on Monday, and what it was is we talked about common ratios and common differences. Okay, so remember, common differences was adding and subtracting, and common ratios were multiplying and dividing. So today we're talking about arithmetic sequences and the I can. So what you're supposed to be able to do after this lesson is you can write a recursive and explicit equation from arithmetic sequence. So that's your I can. So let's get right into it. What is a arithmetic sequence? So arithmetic sequence goes from one term to the next by always adding or subtracting the same value. Okay, so you can't, it has to be the same number value. Okay, so if you're adding by 5 every time, you got to add by 5. If you're subtracting by 7, every time you got to subtract by 7. Okay, so right here it says blue here. We're going to separate that. And then I'm going to write the two formulas that you need to know. Okay, here's the formula. So we have the recursive formula and the explicit formula. Now I know it looks like a lot, but a lot of it is just kind of plug and play. So if you look at the first one, we have the nth term. Okay, the recursive formula, we have the nth term. Let me get my highlighter up. Okay. And it won't let me highlight. So we have, it ain't letting me highlight, so I go back to the drawing and change the color of my pen. So A sub n is the nth term. Now the nth term is the one we're looking for. Okay, so it may say, what's the sixth term? Okay, then we will plug 6 into that. A sub n minus 1 is our previous term. Okay, and then it makes sense in a minute. And then the plus d is our common difference. So the letter D means common difference. For our explicit formula, A sub n is the same thing. So it's the term that we're looking for. Okay. A sub 1 is the first term they give us. Okay. And then D is our common term again. So it's just like any function. If we know what our nth term is, we plug it in wherever we see that. Or if we know where we're looking for, our nth term, we plug it in. Okay, we've done functions before. So let's go down to examples. Oh, I went too far. Let me slide it down. Okay. So it says we need to write the recursive formula and the explicit formula for the numbers 2, 5, 8, and 11. So using the numbers 2, 5, 8, and 11, we need to figure out what our common difference is first. Okay. So 2 plus what give you 5? Plus 3. All right. 5 plus what give you 8? Plus 3. All right. 8 plus what give you 11? Plus 3. Okay. So we know that our common difference is plus 3. Positive 3, I should say. All right. And now what we need to know is what's our first term. Okay. So our first term, that A sub 1, equals the first number we see, which is 2. Now that's all we need to be able to plug that stuff in. Okay, so let's go down here and plug it in. Slide down a little bit. So for recursive formula, let's go to the recursive formula. So for recursive formula, we got only thing we need for the recursive formula is, because we don't know what term we're looking for, is our common difference, which is plus 3. So we have a sub n equals previous term plus 3. And that's it. Okay. Now, for our explicit formula, we need our common term and our previous term. I'm sorry, our initial term. Okay, let me draw it up here. So we have a sub n equals, now remember, we have our previous term. Our initial term, which is 2. So I have 2 plus our common difference is 3, and we need to finish filling out the formula. Alright, so now the only difference is we distribute this. So we have 3 times n and 3 times negative 1. So now we have a sub n equals 2 plus 3 times n is 3n, and 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Okay, so now we can combine like terms. We have a 2 and a negative 3. So a positive 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And we can write in our explicit formula, a sub n equals 3n minus 1. So whatever your term is, remember, n is your term. So if we were looking for the 9th term, we would plug in 9 where we see the n at, and then minus 1 from that. Okay, let's do another problem. So we have 7 minus 7, and then goes down to 4. So 7 minus what gives you 4? Minus 3. Then we have 4 minus what give you 1? Because I know it's minus because it's going down. Should be minus 3. So our common difference is minus 3. Our initial term, the first one we see is 7. So we can go ahead and write the recursive formula out, because that's the easiest one to figure out, because they don't give us what term they want. So we can plug in a sub n, whatever term that is, equals previous term minus 3. Okay, and 3 is our common difference. And we got to do a little bit more work for the recursive formula, because we have everything we need minus the term. So explicit formula is a sub n equals our first term plus n minus 1 times our common difference. Okay, and just like the previous problem, we want to multiply. We want to use the distributive property. I keep telling you, every time we use the distributive property, we use that the first week of school. So everything we use build up on whatever we use for the remainder of the year. So negative 3 times n gives us a negative 3n. And negative 3 times negative 1 gives us a positive 1. Negative times the positive terms, positive. Okay, now we have 7 and 1 where we can combine, and that equals 8. So we have, I'm going to go ahead and write it down here. A sub n equals negative 3n plus 8. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up. So negative 3 Let me scoot up some. And let me change colors. I was messed up. So negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. Okay. So now 7 plus 3 is 10, not 8. I'm sorry. So that shouldn't be 8. That should be plus 10. See, even I mess up. All right, so let's go by our 3 questions and let's try to get these taken care of. So for the first one, let's figure out what the recursive formula is. Remember, recursive formula is a sub n plus the common difference. So let's find the common difference. 2, 8, 14, 20. So it's going up, so I know it's adding to something. So 2 plus what gives us 8 plus 6. Okay. 6 plus 8 gives us 14. So our common difference is 14. And our initial number is 2. So we can write our recursive formula out because we don't know what term we're looking for. So we got a sub n equals previous term plus 6. All right, now for the explicit formula, we could plug some stuff in. So we have a sub n equals our first term. So we know our first term is 2 plus whatever term we're looking from, or the previous term, n minus 1 times 6. We know it's times 6 because that's our common term, common difference. So let's distribute this. So 2, and we have 6 times n gives us a 6n. 2 plus 6n, and then we have a 6 times a negative 1 gives us a negative 6. So we could combine these two, and that gives me a negative 4. So now I have a sub n equals 6n minus 4. Okay, so I may only be able to get the 2 with you, then you got to do the third one by yourself. So we have 14, 12, 10, and 8. So I know it's subtracting by something because my numbers are going down. So 14 minus what gives me 12? 12 minus 10? 12 minus what gives me 10? 10 minus what gives me 8? So if you guess minus 2, you're correct. Okay, and our first term is 14. So let's do our recursive formula. We have a sub n, or whatever term we're looking for, is previous term minus 2. Okay, and then for our explicit formula, we have a sub n equals our first term, which is 14, plus previous term, which is n minus 1, times negative 2. So let's distribute this. We have a sub n equals 14. Negative 2 times n gives us a negative 2n. And negative 2 times negative 1 gives us a positive 2. So we can combine these. 14 plus 2 gives us 16. So now I have a sub n equals negative 2n plus 16. All right, so if you have any questions on that third question, make sure you ask me. Just follow your formula and talk to you when you're in school.